Gracias a todos por observar este video. El día de hoy les tenemos una entrevista con una persona que ha emigrado desde Ucrania hacia Canadá. Ella vive en la isla del Príncipe Eduardo y el día de hoy nos va a narrar toda su experiencia en ese trayecto desde Ucrania hacia acá. So we have here Soriana. Soriana, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. How about you?
Very good, very good. Thank you very much for accepting this interview.
My pleasure.
So as I was saying, I have a YouTube channel where I talk about Canada, immigration and all that. One of the things we do in this channel is to interview people who, like me, have immigrated to Canada. So let's start in that regard. So let's tell the audience, like, who is Zoriana? Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so my name is Zoriana, and as you probably have mentioned, I came from Ukraine. I immigrated to Canada about 4 years ago. I came directly to Prince Edward Island on the last day of summer 2016, and I've been living there here since.
Okay. And what brought you to Canada?
Basically, there was like a socioeconomic situation in my country, as well as political situation. You probably have heard about the conflict with Russia we've been having recently. So yeah, I just wanted to save the future for my children.
Okay, and I totally understand your situation because I've been in that spot, and I know a lot of people who have analyzed the situation and have analyzed country like the States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And out of all the countries, Germany is also known for immigration. Out of all those options, why did you pick Canada?
Well, first of all, because of the language. I mean, I speak and understand English pretty well as a little bit of French, not that good. Secondly, because Canada is well known to be like the best country for immigration with all their social programs for newcomers. There's a lot of protection for the vulnerable, categories and stuff. Yeah, so they pay you money for the kids, and when you have low income and so on and so forth. So it's like more secure and stable to immigrate to a country like Canada.
Yeah. Was Canada your first attempt, or did you try to immigrate to any other country before?
That's kind of very interesting because a year before I tried to immigrate for Canada, we were chosen like a green card winners for the USA.
Yeah.
But for some reason we were not admitted. Well, the official reason was that my husband mixed up the date birth of our older daughter, but I don't think that was the real reason. So anyway, we were not in situation.
Sorry, I didn't get it. What was the reason they argued?
Like the date of birth of my older child was not stated properly by my husband during the time of filling out the application. Yeah.
Okay.
Men never remember those things, right?
Yeah. And what's your profession? What did you do back in Ukraine?
Back in Ukraine, I worked for 16 years at the Economic University, and I taught English there, like different subjects in English, business English, communication, business communication, country study, business correspondence, and stuff like that in English, yeah.
So you have a university degree in the English language.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
That's interesting. So how many languages do you speak?
Well, I speak Russian, I speak English, I speak French, and a little bit of Polish, just a little bit. Yeah.
And of course, Ukrainian, you didn't mention.
Yeah,
Ukrainian.
well, for sure, yeah.
So that's will be like the same exact order, like you speak Ukrainian is your native language, then Russian, and then English, right? So you will say your Russian is better than your English.
Yeah, Russian is about like fluent, almost like a mother tongue. Yeah, but I'm not using it like, I was not using it in everyday language back in my home country.
where you from what part of Ukraine are you?
It's western part of Ukraine,
Oh
so
yeah,
it's closer to Europe.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard stories about people from West Ukraine don't liking a lot Russian people, while
Uh,
people from the East like they don't mind a lot.
no, it's not the case. I have many friends from eastern part of Ukraine, and sometimes they speak Russian. It's not about people or personalities, it's about, uh,
Yeah,
just
and
sometimes, yeah,
I've
yeah,
heard that as well. I have a friend from Western, and she said she has nothing against Russian people. The country itself is just like the government they dislike.
yeah, exactly, right, yeah.
Right. So going back to immigration to Canada. So what immigration program did you guys went through? Was that the federal skilled worker program, or which program did you guys went through?
Yes, it was actually provincial nominee program. So yeah, we applied through Prince Edward Island, like directly. It was not like the federal program, it was the provincial one.
And you guys went through the express entry
Yeah,
process, right?
exactly. It was just at the beginning, like when it just started. So
Uh,
we're among the like almost like those first applicants. Yeah.
and I know that a lot of people watching this video, they are asking themselves, there are 10 provinces and 10 territories in Canada. So why did you pick exactly Prince Edward Island?
Well, that's a good question. I actually applied for several provinces, and it's just that I got response from Prince Edward Island first, and I decided I just should let it,
Yeah.
I
So
go. Yeah.
which provinces did you apply?
I applied to Manitoba because I have lots of my relatives and friends, good friends
Mhm.
living there. Then
Yep.
I was thinking about Quebec,
Yep.
but at that point they canceled the English program, and my French was not that good yet. So yeah, and we did Prince Edward Island, and I guess we did also New Brunswick. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. By that time, I'm pretty sure my viewers know that I live in New Brunswick. Very nice place to live
Yeah.
in. So I've been to PI. It's a beautiful island. In what part of the island you live?
I live in the capital,
In Charlottetown.
Charlottetown. Yes.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful place for sure.
So right now, with this pandemic, I know Prince Edward Island has a vivid tourism. So you live there. So how do you see the tourism scene right now?
Right now, we don't have that amount of tourists as we usually do, because all the liners, like cruise ship liners, right, are canceled, and usually, like the majority of tourists would come that way.
Mhm.
But we still have lots of tourists from the Atlantic bubble, and I do see plates from Ontario and Quebec, and sometimes even Alberta. So, in some way, they get here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've seen some New Brunswick license plates as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Because we are very close. Well, Nova Scotia and us, New Brunswick, we're really close to you.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, the Confederation Bridge is with New Brunswick. That's
Yeah.
the
and
boat.
and the ferry with Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're close to each other. That's super cool. So, what recommendations you have for people who wants to immigrate here to Canada? What process should they follow?
I'd say all the process is on the official website, which is www.canada.ca.
Mhm.
And that's actually what I did. We just followed all the steps and recommendations and guidelines. And that brought us here for less than, I think, half a year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another question I had. How long did the process took you since the day you decided to immigrate to Canada and then the day you arrived here?
I think that took us a year and a half, just
Mhm.
because we stayed like in the pool, and we applied first for Manitoba, like that was our first intention. But we never were drawn because like me and my husband, we were teachers, right? Or
Mhm.
like university professors, and
Yep.
they didn't need they didn't need those. So yeah, and after being a year in Nepal and not having any results, we decided to change a little bit and consider other provinces.
Yep.
And I think we got like um, all our like information and all our files on the website, and created our like express entry file, right? And
Yep.
we were chosen like exactly in a year and a half. Yeah. And yeah, and after we were chosen by Prince Edward Island, things evolved really quickly. Like I think it was like 4 months until we got all the documents ready, and then we got approved in another next months, 2 months. So it makes like 6 months of the whole process from the moment we were picked up by Prince Edward Island.
How old were your children when you got to Canada?
My older daughter was 12 and my younger one was 4.
And how was their integration process to this new country, new society?
With the younger, it was pretty natural, I would say, because the younger you are, the better. Like you pick up the language really fast and you don't have any accent or whatever. Like you mingle with other nationalities pretty fast, and yeah, you get along pretty well with anybody. For my older daughter, it was a little bit of language like barrier at the beginning, although she studied English back at home, but it was not the same. Like here, she had to breathe in English. So yeah, that took her like 2 additional years of English as an additional language, which was an additional subject for her at school. But now she's pretty fluent. Yeah.
And does she have friends here?
Oh yeah, yeah. She's pretty, adjusted now, and she has probably friends of all possible nationalities you can find in Canada. Yeah.
That's great. And do they speak French as well?
Some of them do. Yeah, yeah. We have like.
I mean, your children. Do your children speak French?
No, my daughter. Well, she did some French classes at school, and she still does, but. Well, she's not at the level of having conversations in French yet, and I don't think she'll get there. The reason is back at home she studied German, and like she entered junior high school. She was in grade 7 when she started here, and yeah, like almost all her classmates would have certain bases in French, but she wouldn't, and that's why she had like that kind of gap, which she found really hard to overcome. Yeah. So as I say, the faster you start, the better.
Of course.
The earlier.
Yeah. And at home, what language you guys speak amongst you with your daughter? Is that Ukrainian?
We speak Ukrainian and English, I'd say maybe like 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my children, they prefer English now over Ukrainian, but me and my husband, we mostly speak Ukrainian. Yeah, with each other. Yeah.
So isn't that a concern of you, especially with the youngest one? Don't you think she can lose her Ukrainian?
Yes, it is, and we're trying to do something about it. Like we try to read books in Ukrainian and do the alphabet and a little bit of reading in Ukrainian. She understands Ukrainian pretty well, but her expressive language, she cannot just express everything she wants in Ukrainian. Yeah, that's a pity.
Can she read in Ukrainian?
Yeah, like slowly, but yeah, she can. And she can comprehend what she's reading as well, yeah.
And I guess that's not an issue for the oldest one because she was already 12 when she moved in.
Yeah. So she still remembers how to read and write and speak,
But does she practice it? Does she watch any podcasts or YouTube videos in Ukrainian?
She's not really into it. I think just because she's still in that stage of mingling, with the Canadian culture and stuff. So she prefers English, but I think if she had to, she would be able and she would enjoy it. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about French. What has motivated you to start learning French?
Well, first of all, Canada is a bilingual country, right? And I think you always have more chances of finding a good job and just developing professionally when you speak two languages, when you're bilingual.
So
which is my dream. Not yet.
so you started learning French after you decided to move to Canada. Is that right?
Yes. Well, I had some French at the university, which is like back 20 years ago. Yeah, but after that, I didn't have any chance to speak French or just to even, practice it with somebody. So basically, I forgot about French for good like 15 years or so. And then I started just to resume and to restore whatever knowledge I had left like 2 years ago.
Mhm. And right now you live in a province that has English as its only official language. Is it hard for you to practice your French on Prince Edward Island?
Yes, it is. Although I think about like 2 something% of population speak French as the main language, but we have more Chinese than French here, sincerely. Like 4.5, I think, percent speak Chinese. So unless you speak to someone who uses French like as the language of profession or whatever, or as the native language, you don't have a chance to practice much. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and
That's a pity for me. Yeah.
yeah, and I was mentioning you before starting recording that some of my subscriber they speak French as their first language. We're going to spend the last 25% of the video speaking French.
Okay, I will try to do my best. Yeah.
Yeah, and talking about languages, your native language and your second language, they both use a different alphabet. So how does that work when you have to change your alphabet for your day-to-day work? Was it hard? At what time? How old were you when you start learning English, when you learned the new alphabet? How does that work for you guys, Russian
That
speakers?
worked pretty well because it was like still back to my school age, right?
Yeah.
I started learning English, I guess, when I was second grade.
Yeah.
Or maybe third grade, I don't even remember now. So it came pretty natural because, I kind of already mentioned that kids at that age, they just absorb everything naturally. Yeah.
And so something I've always wondered, like the internet, it was created basically in English, and we who speak a language that use the same alphabet, we kind of get advantage of it because something as simple as the URLs, like the internet direction, you cannot have like a Cyrillic alphabet direction on the internet. You have to use our alphabet. So how does that work in Russia? Like how are the URL constructed if you cannot use your own alphabet for the internet address?
I think it's pretty easy. Like it was never an issue for me or my friends and colleagues. Like we would use English alphabet, and that's it. Yeah.
But how do you decide? Like if you have a university, the University of Ukraine, you have to create a website. So what will be an address that they will pick if they cannot use their alphabet?
I don't know. Those might be like a little bit like information technology things and issues I'm not really familiar with. But yeah, I think it's no problem. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Ben maintenant, on va commencer en français pour mes abonnés qui parlent français.
D'accord.
As-tu visité déjà le Nouveau-Brunswick?
Ah, c'est dommage, mais non. J'ai envie de visiter cette province les prochaines fois. J'ai visité la province voisine, c'est Nouvelle-Écosse, aussi Québec et l'Ontario, mais pas Nouveau-Brunswick, pas encore.
Quelle ville du Québec as-tu visité?
C'est Montréal et aussi quelques environs.
Ah, ouais.
Oui,
Comme
parce que
Longueuil, Laval.
oui, parce que j'ai quelques amis qui habitent là.
Ah, c'est cool. As-tu visité quelques villes d'autres, comme la ville de Québec, la capitale, par exemple?
Non, pas encore, mais je sais que c'est une très bonne ville.
Moi, j'aime beaucoup Montréal. Je suis tombé amoureuse avec la ville de Montréal. Il y a beaucoup de spontanéité là-bas, il y a beaucoup de choses à faire. Et qu'est-ce que tu aimais le plus de la ville de Montréal?
C'est les églises.
Ah ouais.
Ah oui, aussi la nature, les parcs, les marines. Oui.
C'est cool. As-tu eu la chance de pratiquer ton français là-bas? Parce que Montréal, c'est une ville assez internationale. On peut parler anglais n'importe où à Montréal.
Oui et non, parce que quand j'ai commencé à parler français, il m'a posé des questions. Est-ce que tu parles anglais? Et quand je
Ouais.
sais oui, elle commence par l'anglais.
Ouais, c'est dommage. Ça arrive toujours.
Oui,
À Montréal, quand on demande un service, si c'est un restaurant, si c'est un hôtel, et s'ils voient que tu ne parles pas avec l'accent du Québec, ils vont instantanément changer à l'anglais. Et
oui,
c'est arrivé, même mes amis d'ici, les Acadiens, même s'ils parlent français comme langue maternelle, comme ils ne parlent pas avec l'accent québécois, ils changent à l'anglais. C'est fou.
oui,
Et,
oui.
et c'est fou que parfois, la même chose arrive aux Français de la France, qui parlent français comme langue maternelle. Parfois, ils changent. Parce que, bon, on doit comprendre, et les gens qui travaillent au restaurant, à l'hôtel, ils vont faire leur travail le plus rapide que possible. Ce qui se passe, c'est que c'est très difficile pour eux de comprendre un autre accent. Et c'est une chose qui arrive seulement avec le français. Ça n'arrive pas avec l'anglais, avec l'espagnol, avec n'importe quelle autre langue. Mais le français a une particularité, c'est qu'on doit prononcer très bien pour qu'on puisse comprendre ce qu'on veut dire. C'est pour ça qu'ils préfèrent parler en anglais. Parce qu'en
Oui,
anglais, même si on ne fait pas la bonne prononciation, on peut comprendre. La même chose arrive avec l'espagnol. C'est ça.
oui.
Et, et bon, tu m'as dit Québec, et la Nouvelle-Écosse, bien sûr, l'île de Prince-Édouard. Quelle autre province du Canada tu as déjà visité?
Et l'Ontario,
À
ici,
l'Ontario.
l'Ontario. Oui.
Quelle ville? Toronto?
Oui, mais ma fille cadette avait les fivières.
Mhm.
Alors, je n'avais pas de chance de visiter les places d'intérêt.
Mhm, ouais.
Alors, je restais au Kitchener. Kitchener.
Ah ouais, je connais.
Oui,
Ouais,
c'est une
as-tu
ville.
visité la ville de Waterloo?
Oui, 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 c'est un proche. Oui, aussi j'ai visité quelques parcs nationaux et des choses comme ça.
Mhm.
Oui, mais ma première raison était de voir mes amis qui habitent
As-tu
là-bas.
visité les chutes du Niagara?
Euh, non, c'est pour les raisons de ma fille cadette et les fivières. Oui, et cette journée, c'était très, très chaud. Je pense que la température était environ 43 degrés.
Wow, c'est
Oui,
trop
oui,
chaud. Mais j'imagine qu'il y avait une canicule quand même. Parce que parfois, ça arrive. Et la journée la plus chaude de ma vie, ça se passait à Montréal. C'était le 1er juillet 2019. Il y avait une canicule et ça faisait 42 degrés.
oui.
C'est plus chaud que mon pays. Moi, je suis originaire du Caraïbes. Et je suis de la République dominicaine. Et là-bas, c'est le plus chaud que j'ai vécu là-bas, c'est 38, quelque chose comme ça.
Oui.
Mais
C'était
42.
la même année que je visitais l'Ontario. Presque le même temps. Oui.
Ouais, ouais, c'est très difficile parce qu'il y a quand même des gens qui sont morts à cause de la canicule, et des gens avec des conditions préexistantes de santé et tout ça, parce que c'est difficile, on peut suffoquer à cause de chaleur, on
Oui.
doit se préparer. En fait, il y a toujours ici des avertissements quand il y a un canicule, ils disent il faut faire attention, il faut rester à la maison, et boire de l'eau,
Oui.
s'hydrater et tout ça, parce que c'est difficile pour la santé. Bon, et, et comment est-ce que la vie a changé à l'île de Prince-Édouard à cause de la pandémie?
Euh, c'est tranquille. C'est plus tranquille comme ordinairement. Mais c'est bon. Il fait très beau, très bon ici. En général, les températures de l'été, c'est environ 25 à 30 degrés. Et il y a toujours des vents. Alors, le climat est très bon pour moi pendant l'été.
Mhm.
Oui. Il y a beaucoup de restaurants. Tu peux visiter les restaurants et les musées, les galeries. Euh, il y a la vie. Oui.
Maintenant, tu mentionnes les restaurants. Une chose intéressante de l'île de Prince-Édouard, c'est que tout est fermé après l'été. Même il y a beaucoup de restaurants, même Grandpa Studio, que c'est un studio de photographie très important, très connu là-bas, tout est fermé. En fait, il y a presque la moitié de la population qui sort de l'île après l'été, pendant l'hiver. C'est ça ce que j'ai entendu. Je ne sais pas si c'est
Oui,
vrai
c'est
parce que...
vrai, c'est vrai. Beaucoup de gens euh, euh, voyagent à Florida
Ah, ouais, en
pendant
Floride.
l'hiver, oui.
Oui, c'est ça qu'il appelle en anglais le snowbirds, c'est-à-dire les Canadiens qui sortent du pays
Oui,
pendant
oui, parce
l'hiver.
qu'il y a beaucoup de neige ici en
Oui,
hiver.
oui, oui.
Oui,
Il y a beaucoup de neige et même les travailleurs qui travaillent pendant l'été, ils doivent contracter des employeurs hors de l'île parce qu'il n'y a pas assez de gens pour faire des travail, pour nettoyer la neige, des choses comme ça. Parfois, ils doivent employer des gens hors de l'île. C'est fou ça.
oui.
Mais j'imagine que pendant l'hiver, c'est difficile à vivre là-bas parce qu'il y a beaucoup de neige, il y a presque personne, tout est fermé. Ça,
Oui, parfois c'est trop long. L'hiver ici, c'est trop long. Et il y a beaucoup de tempêtes de neige.
Mhm.
Parfois, les écoles sont annulées.
Ah, ouais.
Et tous les bureaux dans le centre-ville ne marchent pas après les tempêtes. Oui, c'est le cas ici.
Et maintenant, tu as 4 ans ici au Canada. C'est-à-dire que maintenant, tu peux demander ta citoyenneté. Et as-tu commencé le processus pour devenir canadienne?
Oui, j'ai commencé, mais je pense grâce à la pandémie, ce processus est un peu en retard.
Oui,
Oui,
ouais.
j'ai aucune nouvelle maintenant,
Mhm. Quand
à
est-ce
ce
que tu
moment.
as envoyé tes papiers pour la citoyenneté?
C'était octobre 2019.
OK. As-tu lu la documentation pour l'examen?
Euh, Pas encore, parce que je n'ai pas de nouvelles concernant les continuations de la procédure. Alors,
Oui,
pas
oui.
encore.
Ouais, bien sûr. À cause de la pandémie, tous les processus migratoires sont délais. Et même pour les travailleurs temporaires, par n'importe quel processus d'immigration, il y a, euh, tout est en retard à cause de la pandémie. Mais bon,
Oui,
ça arrivera. Tu seras
oui,
bien.
j'espère.
Penses-tu, oh, nous avons parlé déjà de snowbird. Penses-tu que tu seras un snowbird à ta
Non, non,
retraite?
non. La première raison que je ne suis pas le snowboard, c'est que je n'ai pas de passeport canadien et mon carte de résident permanent est presque fini. Presque fini, oui.
Mais pas maintenant, mais je dis quand tu seras à la retraite.
C'est possible
Parce que,
dans quelques ans, dans quelques ans,
parce
oui.
que majoritairement, le snowbird, ce sont des gens qui sont à la retraite, qui ils ont vécu toute la vie au Canada et ils disent, pouf, je m'en fous.
Oui, oui,
C'est assez, j'ai assez hiver maintenant. Et je n'aurai plus d'hiver. Je vais rester tranquille.
oui. Parce que parfois, l'hiver reste pour 6 mois ici, oui.
Dis-moi.
6, oui,
Ah ouais, si. Bon,
oui,
dis-moi. C'est trop. Mais bon,
oui.
c'est la moitié de l'année quand même. C'est... C'est trop long. Et en parlant de français, une chose qu'on parle souvent, c'est de l'accent de français du Canada. Toi, tu as appris le français de standard ou le français européen. Est-ce que c'était difficile pour toi à comprendre l'accent, le vocabulaire du français du Canada?
Oui, quand j'avais la chance d'écouter quelque chose en français ici, c'était français acadien.
Mhm.
Et je pense que j'ai quelques difficultés pour comprendre. Et aussi le français de Nouveau-Brunswick. J'ai vu quelques vidéos
Mhm.
et j'ai une idée. Est-ce c'est le français ou bien c'est l'anglais
Oui,
avec
c'est ça.
les
C'est
mots
le
français?
chiac. Oui, c'est un
Oui.
dialecte qu'il parle dans le sud-est de Nouveau-Brunswick. Il l'appelle le chiac. Ça vient de le nom de la ville de Shediac. La contraction, c'est chiac. Et c'est un mélange entre l'anglais et le français. C'est ça.
Oui.
Worry pas ta brain, je vais le faire worker, je vais parker le car dans le driveway pour drinker la bière et manger le pizza.
Oui, c'est ça. Oui. Oui.
Moi, je dois avouer quelque chose. Moi, j'ai appris le français de la France. D'abord, c'était difficile de parler le français d'ici, de comprendre le français d'ici. Et j'ai trouvé le français d'ici un petit peu laid. J'ai préféré le français de la France. J'ai trouvé que c'était plus belle et tout ça.
Plus
Mais
mélodique.
oui,
Oui, oui.
oui, mais maintenant, j'ai changé mon accent. Mon prof de français de la France, il m'a dit que j'ai changé. Et c'est presque une réaction volontaire parce que moi, je trouve que la façon de parler d'ici est plus facile pour avoir une conversation par cœur. Parce que comme il y a des inflexions, ça me donne plus de temps de penser ce que je veux dire. Comme le français de la France est plus, c'est plus plate, il n'y a pas d'inflexion. Moi, je préfère faire d'inflexion parce que ça me donne
Mhm.
l'opportunité de prononcer ce que je veux dire.
Je pense que c'est l'influence de l'anglais, un peu,
Ouais, ouais,
l'inflexion.
ouais, ouais,
Oui,
peut-être.
oui.
Peut-être pas. Ouais. Ouais, parce que ce qui se passe, c'est que ici, il parle le vieux français, le français qu'il parlait avant en France, il y a 200 ans. Et il y avait différentes inflexions, il y avait différentes façons de parler. Après la révolution de 1789, euh, ils ont changé leur façon de parler volontairement parce que la façon qu'ils utilisent pour parler ici au Canada, c'était la façon de parler de la monarchie. Et après la Révolution, ce n'était pas cool de parler comme les monarques. Que c'est là, ils ont changé. Non, on ne peut pas parler comme ça.
Oui,
Et
c'est juste.
il y a un petit peu de tout. C'est sûr qu'il y a beaucoup d'influence de l'anglais, mais bon.
C'est plutôt pour moi de changer l'accent parce que j'ai beaucoup des autres tâches concernant le français, l'apprentissage du français. Oui.
Penses-tu que le moment arrivera où tu vas changer ton accent?
Peut-être aussi j'ai la chance de parler français dans ma vie quotidienne. Oui.
Mais bon, moi, j'ai commencé comme une blague, j'ai commencé à parler un petit peu comme les Québécois, le français, parler un petit peu comme ça. Mais maintenant, c'est mon accent naturel en français. Moi, ça serait un petit peu difficile si j'essaie de parler 100% de standard comme le français dans la France. Mais pour moi, c'est un plus naturel comme avant.
Oui, je comprends.
Bon, on est presque sur le point de finir l'entrevue. Quels sont votre mots pour finir l'entrevue? Quels sont tes mots d'encouragement pour les gens qui veulent venir ici au Canada?
Euh, Est-ce que je peux parler l'anglais?
Oui, dans n'importe quelle langue, ukrainienne, russe.
Ok. Je peux parler russe ou ukrainien, mais je choisirais l'anglais.
Ouais, vas-y.
Um, well, I think it's definitely worth coming here. and just building your life here, because you have so much more chances just to develop professionally and to see the world and to become whatever you want to become. And for your kids to grow here, they basically have even, I don't think, double chances, like tenfold more chances than you do. So I would recommend coming here as soon as you decide to immigrate, okay? Because every year you lose, like you diminish your chances. So just whenever you decide to immigrate, read all the requirements, make sure you're ready and apply, and one day you'll be chosen and you'll come and start your new life here. Yeah.
There are two things I don't want to end the interview without asking you. The first one is, did you use the service of any immigration consultant, or did you do the process by yourself?
I did the process by myself because that was pretty straightforward. Like you read the guidelines and recommendations, you make everything ready, and it's very straightforward and simple. I would say just follow the official website and yeah, all the recommendations and yeah, all the requirements are there. So I did it myself. Yeah.
So the second question that I have to ask you before wrapping up is that you've mentioned something that most people that I interviewed say. In your own words, you said that Canada allows you the opportunity of becoming the best version of yourself. And I always say that after I came here, I started doing stuff that I've never dreamed of doing. Like I went to the university for taking literature classes, for taking Akkadian culture classes. I took also painting classes, a lot of stuff that I wouldn't think of doing before moving here. Has that happened to you? Have you done anything that you will not even think of in your native country?
Yes and no. First of all, because some of my time has to be dedicated to my family. As I mentioned already, the younger you come here, the more chances you have. But still, I started painting here, and I continued with yoga and meditation, and yeah, like something I like. I would probably not find time back at home because I would be busy earning money for the family.
Yeah.
But here I have time and possibility just to pursue my dreams. Yeah.
Yeah, and I started meditation here, and there is a combination of factors. One is, as you've mentioned here, you have more time for your family to dedicate to your hobbies because working hours are not as long as in other countries.
Yes.
And another thing is that there are more opportunities here. There are a lot of people into yoga, into meditation. I've never tried meditation before moving here, and here meditation is a huge thing out here. I've been to university to study it, but there are a lot of people, a lot of groups, a lot of resources for it around here. So that's another thing that happens here.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Soriana.
You're welcome.
Giving us the minutes to share with us your experience of immigration to this beautiful country. So
it was my pleasure.
See you next time. Next time we are going to be, instead of being the interviewer, I'm going to be the one who's going to be interviewed on Soriana's channel. That's going to be in Russian.
Okay, someday.
We just have to wait for her to start her YouTube channel.
All right. Okay.
Thank you very much and see you next time. Si te gustó el video, suscríbete, dale a la campanita para que te lleguen las notificaciones y compártelo en tus redes sociales. Hasta la próxima.